Good morning out there, traders, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. It is March 15th, 2024. Let's get into our recap from yesterday, and then we'll update our session plan and levels for today. So taking a look at yesterday, we finally got an alternate scenario. It's been a long time since we've seen an alternate scenario around a line in the sand, and we finally got one yesterday. So let's go over what our basic plan was from yesterday. We had a main line in the sand that was bullish in nature because of its acceptance picture. So our main scenario was scenario 1, looking to get long and head up into this overall target area. If that area broke down, we were willing to switch this line in the sand to bearish, and we were going to look for a continuation to the downside into this target right here. And that is exactly what we ended up seeing. We ended up seeing scenario 2 play out right into our destination over the course of the entire session. But let's go over kind of how it played out, right? So we ended up kind of prepping in this zone here. So nothing for us really to do in terms of scenario 1. We get underneath this neutral area, and there's still no long opportunities for us really. Come into the open of the market, and what do we see? A drive straight down through our line in the sand with no chance to get long throughout that entire line in the sand there. And we switch to scenario 2 at that point, and we're looking for short opportunities off of our line in the sand. As this market starts to pull back into that area, we get some really nice bearish inflections off of that zone, and that's essentially where the trade of the day really was for us to the downside off of scenario 2. We get some nice MFE coming all the way down into this section here, coming into that last like hour and a half of the session, and really nice looking trade, right? As this thing pulls back up into our line in the sand, holds it to the tick, sells right back off into our overall destination or target area. So one of those trades you probably had to sit through all day, but plenty of opportunity to the downside to continue with bearish inflections underneath our line in the sand along with scenario 2. So our analysis was kind of spot on yesterday with a meaningful area, a meaningful zone for this market after it pushes right down through it and holds it from the other side. Okay, so now looking at what's going on today, we are sitting in kind of a dissonant situation here, but we have enough room to operate. So really the best way to take a look at this situation is we have barriers to either side of the market. In other words, if we're going to see further upside, if we're going to continue with the bulls, we have to get through this bear area. If the bears are going to take control of this market and really push through it, we have to break down that bullish area. So in this situation here, the stuff in between, yeah, this is dissonant because you have opposing trade ideas, opposing conditions back and forth. So that can make for some choppy kind of situations whenever it comes to trading, but our analysis is quite clear in this zone. So let's take a look at what's going on here based on the current context. Now, taking a look at our upper line in the sand here, this is the more immediate situation. This is bearish in nature, and it's a little bit more of our shorter term stuff has shifted, especially because of what happened yesterday. And we're looking at scenario 1 being a hold of this bearish zone right down into this first neutral level here. That's the first real major target for this bearish move. And then if we get lower, we come into the bullish zone here, and that would be kind of the end of the line for what we're looking for out of the bears. Scenario 2 would be just a complete breakdown of that line in the sand, right? So scenario 2 would be kind of what we saw yesterday, right? We have a line in the sand, we accept up above it, everything flips on this particular line in the sand, and we approach it from above, and we look for the inflections to continue up into target zones and a further stretch target up above here around the 5300s. All right, so that would be what's going on with scenario 2. The current what is picture obviously is scenario 1. That's what we're seeing right now, kind of selling off and playing out. So that's where we're at with that line in the sand. If this continues lower, we're going to be watching this neutral inflection, anything lower into this bullish line in the sand, then we start looking at alternate scenarios down here. So if we get down into this bullish line in the sand, we are paying attention to scenario 3 down here, which is a hold of that zone, coming back down to that neutral level first, possible continuation of the upside, heading back into our bearish line in the sand area up above. If we break down everything, if the bears really take control of this market, we're talking about, a pretty extreme move for us in terms of volatility. We would end up seeing a breakdown of this bullish line in the sand, possible pullbacks into here where we get target areas down into this neutral level and this neutral level here. So just keep in mind the overall landscape there of what it would take for scenario 4 to really play out. It's a 100-point move pretty much from where we're at right now. So definitely something to be aware of in terms of how far this market would be stretching to the downside if we start seeing scenario 4 playing out. It's really just a matter of trading the what is picture around our contextual analysis in terms of NADRO. So we don't really, put expectations on what the day is going to be like. We just trade the areas that go along with our context, our ranking and distilling, and narrative analysis work. And that's really what we're doing with these DMIs, is presenting that analysis work and just showing you kind of the overall context of what we do here at Apteros. So that's our overall landscape for today. Trade well out there, mind your risk, mind your process, and remember that we are in a spot where we have kind of opposing or conflicting ideas coming back and forth here. So this is an area of dissonance technically. It's a wider zone, so we have room to operate, but nonetheless, we are looking at opposing timeframes in this type of situation. So a lot of things can happen whenever those kind of things set up. We'll just have to wait and see how these lines in the sand play out.